Okay, my friends, it's about time I recorded a video about my eating disorder story. I'm actually filming right now next to my gym, while my thoughts are still fresh in my mind. I just met a girl that had a nervous breakdown in the changing room at my gym, and she has anorexia. I've spent a good 2 hours talking to her, and I realized we need a video about this, and I probably should have shared my story earlier, but there's just so much to share, I don't even know where to begin. So this is one part of my life, but I think this is very significant, and the issue is a lot more prevalent than I thought, so we need to talk about it. And guys, I'm not filming this to brag about my recovery. I'm not filming this to prove anything to anyone, to show off, oh look, I overcame it. I'm filming this because I know there are people out there right now who are struggling with this, who have lost hope completely, who probably think that they will never recover from this. And I'm a lived example of someone who overcame it. Please, if you have an eating disorder right now, whether it's anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder, orthorexia, or anything else, please do not lose hope. I am begging you, please don't lose hope. Please. I know people that overcame it. I'm a lived example of someone who overcame it. It's possible. So please, continue watching this video. Do not lose hope. It's possible to overcome it, and you will. Keep fighting. So let me share my story before I continue. I have 12 years of lived experience of anorexia nervosa. I'm going to put a warning under this video. I don't want this video to trigger anyone. So guys, once again, I have 12 years of lived experience of anorexia nervosa. I overcame it. I nearly died from it. I had a near-death experience at the age of 15 when my heart nearly stopped from how thin I was. But let's start from the beginning. So when I was 13, a very close family member told me that I was fat. They essentially called me fat. And that hit me really, really hard. So I've started researching how to lose weight. I've started counting calories and started monitoring my food intake. I started over-exercising. This coincided with the time when I moved countries, when I moved to the UK on my own completely. So that was not a good combo. And my anorexia was a trauma response because I used anorexia as a coping mechanism to deal with my past trauma and to take control of my life, because I felt like a lot of aspects of my life were out of control. Stuff was happening in my family. I also lived in a really unsafe environment. I grew up in a super dangerous place. But also, I moved countries. I moved to a completely different country where they spoke a completely different language. My knowledge of English was really, really basic. I moved completely on my own. Didn't know anyone. Didn't have any friends, and also I didn't see my family for months on end. And any problems that I was facing at that age, I was facing completely on my own. So the way it started was I Googled how to lose weight, and on the internet it said that you have to count calories. And for some reason, I don't know why, I stuck to 1200. So I've started Googling the calorie count of every single food. I started weighing my food. I started skipping meals. You know, the classic story, right? I also started tracking the calories that I burnt throughout the day. I had a watch. I was writing down every calorie that I burnt at the gym. I was exercising, over-exercising compulsively for hours on end. Lost a huge amount of weight in the space of 3 months, about 15 kilograms. And I was constantly tired, malnourished. I had black circles under my eyes. I was super, super thin. Couldn't concentrate, couldn't study. And this continued for years on end. But despite that, somehow I passed my GCSEs. I did super well, actually. I don't know how I did it. It was lots of caffeine. And this continued for about 12 years. No worries, that's fine. You're in a public place. You're allowed to walk anywhere. So this continued for about 12 years. So when I was 15... and I talk about this in my story video. You can watch that. I had my first near-death experience because I was super, super thin. I weighed about 38 kilograms. And I have pictures of myself still, but I don't want to post it. I don't want to add it to this video because I don't want to trigger anyone. And the point of this video isn't even really my story. It's how I recovered. And I'm sharing all of this because I know there'll be people out there watching this now who are going through their eating disorder, who are experiencing all these symptoms, who are being misunderstood by their friends and family, who are being labeled, stigmatized. I want them to watch this, and I want them to realize their strength, and I want them to know that it's possible to recover from this. I'm a lived example of that. It's possible to recover from it. It's possible to have a balanced and healthy relationship with food and exercise. I've literally just finished a gym session, and I did not track how many calories I burned. I did about 2 hours, but it was 1 hour of strength training and 1 hour of running. And now I exercise for health. I don't do it to burn off calories that I've eaten. But before, my relationship with fitness and food was completely different. So we're going to talk about a couple of things here. So I'm going to finish my story. But I struggled with anorexia for years. Let me just move this slightly. Thank you. I was under eating. I still know the full calorie count of every single food. Like, I know that one egg is approximately 90 calories. 100 mils of soy milk is about 40 calories. Sorry if this is triggering. 100 grams of cucumber is about 3 or 13, depending on the type of the cucumber. One banana, depending on the size, is about 80 to 150 calories. I know all of it still, but I'm recording this because, yes, I know it, but nowadays, I don't actively count it. I don't actively write it down. I'm not actively monitoring it, right? Before, I was obsessed with it. I've stopped, okay? And it's possible, guys. It is possible. I nearly died from it, and I still recovered. So please, if you're now about to give up, if you're feeling hopeless, if you're feeling like you're never going to overcome it, please continue watching. It's possible. Please contact me. I will help you. Please, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if it's getting too much, I'm going to add my email under the video and my Instagram. You can contact me anytime. I will talk to you. We'll have a call for free. Okay? I overcame it. And I'm going to share on this channel what helped. I've tried every type of therapy for it in my life. Everything. I've tried everything. Oh my God, my phone is literally about to fall. It's like clinging onto life right now. Being stuck on that door. I overcame it, okay? It's possible, people. It's possible. And I know people that died from it too. But please have hope. There is hope. It's doable. Please don't give up. I've had it for 12 years. And there were so many times when I was on the verge of giving up. I had suicidal thoughts because of it. I was sometimes feeling suicidal after having broccoli, after having 3 eggs. There were times when I didn't eat for a whole week, right? So what was happening essentially was I was actively counting calories. And if I ever exceeded the limit of 1200, which obviously is impossible to maintain, it's impossible to keep that intake 1200 while you're actively exercising for hours on end, right? I felt super guilty. So then I went to the gym even more. I over-exercised even more. Or the next day I told myself, okay, I'm going to eat even less today. So in order to compensate for the calories that I have over-consumed, because for some reason going over the limit of 1200 was considered binging for me. A healthy metabolism will never sustain 1200. That's too little for anyone out there, okay? Especially for a teen that's studying, exercising, and has an active lifestyle. So whenever I exceeded that, I felt like I had to punish myself. So the punishment was to exercise even more or to restrict myself to an even smaller amount of calories the next day. And obviously, my metabolism was trying to fight that. My body was trying to fight that. So as a result, I then had times when I would overeat. And that, in clinical terms, is called binging. Okay? It doesn't matter how many calories you consumed. It doesn't matter what you consumed. Because binging means you eat uncontrollably, right? Because you've been in restriction for so long, your body's trying to fight that restriction. And then you have a disbalance of hormones in your system like insulin, cortisol, ghrelin, and other ones. We're going to talk about this in a separate video. I don't want to turn this into a super long video with neuroscience, but we have to talk about that as well, okay? And I'm going to get an expert to talk about this. But what I want you guys watching this now to realize is that it's possible. It's possible to overcome it. So I had those, as I call it, binging episodes as well. So I was stuck in the cycle. I'm restricting, trying to stick to some calorie limit that's impossible to stick to, right? As a result, my hormonal system in the body was so unbalanced. I was constantly living under stress. My sleep was affected. My appetite was fucked completely. So my body was trying to compensate for the nutrients that I wasn't getting by increasing the hormones that are responsible for an increased appetite, because my body was fighting to survive. I had a constant battle between what my mind was telling me and what my body needed. And I was living in that for 12 years, constantly. So essentially, I was restricting, then I was binging, and then I was restricting again. And the cycle continued for years on end. And initially, when it all started, when I was 13, I lost about 15 kilograms in the space of 3 months. Some of it was muscle, some of it was fat. I lost it really quickly. But then the binging started. I was constantly stuck in this state that's mixed between guilt for exceeding that unsustainable limit that's impossible to maintain in terms of calories, but then also constant tiredness, because it's impossible to be over-exercising and under-eating and feeling okay for years. It's impossible for anyone. If you're exercising for hours on end, you need to make sure that you're taking electrolytes, you're eating properly, you need to look after your nutrition and sleep. And your sleep problems and anxiety will be exacerbated by the stress that you're experiencing from this eating disorder. So I constantly was living with these feelings of guilt and shame for overeating. After those binging episodes, I was hiding my body in baggy clothes, even though my thigh bones were sticking out, right? And I had the purging subtype of anorexia. So my thigh bones were sticking out, and I was still thin because after those binging episodes, I was restricting. So sometimes I would consume about 5,000 calories in one sitting. I'm not joking. And then for the whole week, I was starving myself, literally not allowing myself to go into the kitchen. I was skipping meals. I wouldn't eat with my family. I would always find excuses to skip meals at school. And it was really easy to do it at my school because no one really cared and no one really monitored and checked up on me, because I've been living on my own since the age of 13 in a completely different country and my parents were away. But essentially, my anxiety was getting worse and worse every single year. At one point, I reached suicidal thoughts, just like I said, because I constantly felt like I'm battling myself. And I was stuck in the state of control. And I realized that it's not normal. This is not living. I realized this is actually an addiction. So I'm addicted. So I felt good on the days when I actually managed to not exceed that limit of 1,200. And those were my happy days. And I was literally getting the high from that feeling of control. But then on the days when my body tried to compensate for that, those were the worst days of my life. I still have my journals where I was writing everything down. The days when the binging happened were terrible. I felt so much shame. After those episodes, I didn't want to see other people. I felt disgusted in my own skin. Sometimes I wouldn't want to wake up the next morning because I would have a bloated face. I would feel so much excess water weight in my body. This is what happens when you're stuck in that cycle of overeating and then trying to compensate for the food that you overate. But actually, initially, you weren't really overeating. Your body is just asking you for those nutrients. You shouldn't be restricting in the first place, because the restriction is what's causing the binging. But deep down, I was addicted to that high feeling of control. It was about control. It was never about the food. It was about control, because there were areas of my life that I couldn't control. So I was distracting myself from the parts of my life that I couldn't take care of, that I couldn't control, that I couldn't influence, with this coping mechanism of anorexia. That's essentially what was happening. It's super consuming, guys. It is all consuming. It consumes your life. All I was thinking about was what I'm going to eat, how much I'm going to eat. I was constantly tracking everything in MyFitnessPal. I was consumed with numbers, tracking how much I burned, how much I've eaten. I was constantly thinking about what my next meal is going to be. I was constantly thinking about what my next exercise routine will be. And all of that was a trauma response. once again, to the things that I couldn't control from my childhood, from my past, from my place of birth, from my family, from moving to the new country and more, and so much more. We're not going to go there now, but essentially it's a trauma response. And if you can relate to what I'm talking about, you most likely have an eating disorder. And anyone, please feel free to contact me. I will talk to you. I'll have a call with you. We can chat. You don't have to be facing this alone. Please, it's possible to overcome it. I now have a super healthy relationship with food. I'm not tracking any calories. I still remember the calorie content for every food, for every dish, pretty much. I still know it, but I'm not actively tracking it. And it's possible, guys. It's possible to overcome it. I promise you. Please don't give up. Somehow I graduated from my school despite this all-consuming illness. And yes, guys, it's a disease. It's mental illness with addictive traits. It's a coping mechanism, and very often it happens to people who faced a lot of trauma in their life. Okay? You don't have to be facing this alone. It's very difficult to overcome this alone. It took me 12 years to overcome it. And I promise you, I've tried CBT, DBT, family therapy, Gestalt. Oh my God, ACT, nothing helped me. The only thing that helped me was intuitive eating. And I'm going to get onto that in a second. So, at one point in my life, after I graduated and after I got into university, I had to drop out of university. I got into King's College to study psychology and I dropped out. I went back to my home country, Russia, to become an inpatient at the only clinic in Russia at the time that was dealing with eating disorders, that was helping people. I've met girls there that died from anorexia. I've met girls there whose organs stopped functioning. They died because their organs literally stopped working. Some died from heart malfunction. There was a girl that died from kidney failure because she was addicted to taking diuretics. I've met people before that started taking drugs as a result of their eating disorder because apparently it helped them suppress their appetite. When I was a teen, when I was 16, I was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes daily because nicotine suppressed my appetite. I still remember I was running away from some of my school lessons, going to the local forest to smoke. So I was literally smoking 2 packs of Marlboro Reds and then going on runs. And there were days when I would just have coffee in the morning, black coffee, not even with milk or sugar, just black coffee and cigarettes. That was my breakfast when I was 16, and somehow I still passed my exams. I don't know how I did it because I was smoking so much, and then that turned into vaping for years. I had severe breathlessness. I had super bad chest pains. I had back problems because I was consuming so much nicotine. I was addicted to those nicotine patches, to Juul. It did suppress my appetite. But guys, your body will always compensate for that stress. It's a huge stressor, especially if you're consuming like 500, 700 calories for days. Your body will fight that. That is way too low. My metabolism was fucked. And I've gone through periods when I was gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, and losing weight. When I was an inpatient in that clinic in Russia, yes, I gained weight because they were overfeeding us. But when I was discharged, well, I kind of just ran away. I lost it all again because there was no change or shift in my mindset, in my way of thinking. My cognition didn't change. Okay, now let's get on to what actually helped me. My family or friends didn't understand why I was avoiding and skipping social events, why I couldn't join them at meal times. They thought I was going crazy. And nobody, apart from that one psychiatrist that I've worked with, really understood what was happening with me internally. I had breakdowns, I couldn't sleep, I had insomnia for years, consuming caffeine, so much caffeine, drinking coffee, liters of coffee every day, which was exacerbating my insomnia even more. I was stuck in this cycle. And the only thing that broke this cycle was intuitive eating and anger. Because I started feeling super angry at my life, at my way of living, because I was wasting years. And I realized, look, I came into this world to do something that's more than just track calories, burn them off, and be be stuck in this illness for years. At one point, I got so angry at myself. And I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, what the fuck are you doing, Lina? Is this really why you were born? To just control your food intake, your exercise, to live in this constant restriction, to fight against your own body for years on end? Is that all you're capable of? Is that how you want to live for the rest of your life? To be addicted to this temporary feeling of control that is then followed by the biological responses that your body is giving you, literally screaming you need to stop because you're killing yourself. You're killing your internal organs, your metabolism, your liver, your brain, your heart. I had heart palpitations as a teenager, chest pains when I literally couldn't breathe because I was killing myself with caffeine, over exercising, nicotine, excessive amounts of nicotine. Oh my God. It was vaping, smoking, nicotine patches. Thank God I didn't resort to drugs. Thank God. But I know people that did. I know people who were taking cocaine to suppress their appetite. Guys, this is a real illness, okay? If anyone who's watching this now thinks that, oh, it's just something that a person does for fun, you can't stop it. You literally feel out of control. It's an addiction. It feels so addictive and you can't quit this. It's really hard to quit this without professional help. I don't know how I did it, genuinely. I know people who've reached out to get professional help who still couldn't overcome this. So if anyone out there thinks that this is a joke, it's not. I know people that died from this, okay? I saw people struggling with this for years. They were fighting hard. They were struggling. They were trying to overcome it. Daily they were trying to overcome it and nothing helped them, okay? So it's a serious illness. It's not a joke. So what is intuitive eating and why did it help me? Now let's talk about that. So intuitive eating is something that helped me when I realized if something doesn't change in my life now, if I don't change something in my life right now proactively, I am going to die. My internal organs will fail. I know at least 3 girls that have died in front of me when I was an inpatient in that clinic in Russia. And I realized this will be my fate if I don't change something now. I tried to force feed myself. It didn't work. I had nervous breakdowns at meal times. Once again, panic attacks. Literally times when I was thinking to myself, I'm never going to overcome this. I'm just going to die. This is going to be my fate. I was fighting it daily. So what I started doing was listening to my body. And I got super angry. I thought to myself, why is it that other people are living life to the fullest? They are enjoying life. They are okay when they have a pizza for dinner, when they go out for a meal with their friends. They don't have panic attacks. Why am I like this? I got angry at myself. And I got so angry that I can't change this. And that was a wake-up call. The people that I knew that died, that was a wake-up call. And yes, guys, you can die from this. It's a real illness. What is intuitive eating? Intuitive eating is when you give your body what it's asking you for. So, you wake up in the morning. First of all, you're not starving yourself. You're not putting any restrictions. You're removing all restriction completely with regards to exercise and with regards to your calorie count, with regards to meal times. You completely abolish any rules. So, you stop counting calories. You stop saying, oh, I will never have this food. I will never have that food. I will never have sugar. I will never have caffeine. I will never have something salty or fried. You let yourself eat whatever you want. So, what do I mean by that? If you wake up in the morning and you feel like, okay, I really want a pastry right now. You go, you have that pastry, you eat it, and then you move on with the rest of your day. So you don't eat 10 pastries and then feel guilty about it and then go to the gym to over-exercise obsessively to compensate for that. No. You eat a pastry or 2 and then you move on with the rest of your day. Okay? And you don't blame yourself for it. You don't feel any shame. You eat what you want. You listen to your body. You listen to your cravings. And I promise you, at the beginning, yes, you will probably have a lot of cravings because you've been living in restriction for years on end. So sometimes you will wake up in the morning, especially at the beginning, once you start this lifestyle change, you will wake up in the morning feeling like, I want this, I want that, I want that, I want that. And at the beginning, you will probably gain weight. That's what happened to me. But I promise you, you will lose it in the long run. I want you to realize what I'm sharing with you now is a lifestyle change. It's not a short term diet or fad diets. Actually, those fad diets that you might be following are what's causing this binging, restricting, purging, binging cycle that you have to break. Otherwise, you will never overcome this illness. I promise you, that's the only way to overcome this. And yes, you will have breakdowns. You will literally have breakdowns because you are leaving your comfort zone. You will have breakdowns after meal times at the beginning. Yes, your body will change. You will probably gain weight at the beginning. But do you know what? You're probably stuck in this cycle of gaining and gaining and losing now anyway. So what do you have to lose? What are you losing by temporarily gaining some weight? A lot of it will be water weight. Your body will be adapting to this lifestyle change. What do you have to lose, my friends? If you're stuck in this all-consuming illness that's not letting you live, you're probably stuck thinking about food and over-exercising every single day. You're probably in this 24/7. You can't focus on studying or working on any other part of your life. You probably can't even enjoy food at meal times. You're probably not even enjoying food because the only times when you are eating is probably when you're binging. And when you're binging, it's out of control, right? You can't even taste that food that you're eating. So what do you have to lose? Tell me. You have to answer for yourself and you have to decide that you want to make that change yourself. I can't do it for you. I'm just sharing with you what helped me. And I know this works. It's a lifestyle change. It takes time. And the reason for why you have to remove those restrictions is because you have to change your thinking process. You have to change your approach to food and exercise. You are allowed to exercise, but it shouldn't be obsessively for hours on end. It should be in moderation. And you have to have rest days. You can't be exercising every single day without rest days. Your body needs rest days. If you want to maintain this in the long run, if you want to get rid of this illness, you have to stick to rest days. I have 2 to 3 a week when I'm just not even exercising at all. So your body needs to recover. Your body needs to have recovery days. Your muscle needs to recover. Your body needs to rest. Okay? And I want you to stop counting calories, to stop tracking how much you've burnt. I know it's hard, guys. I know it's hard to let go of that feeling of control. It's very difficult. But this is the only thing that helped me personally. Guys, I know people that died from this, okay? So guys, what is intuitive eating once again? You don't force yourself to eat something that you don't feel like eating. And you listen to your internal body cues. You listen to the signals that your body is giving you. So if you have that feeling of physical hunger, you go and eat. Okay? So guys, I split my definition of hunger into 2 categories. Emotional hunger and physical hunger. Physical hunger is that hunger that you feel when you literally have this feeling of acid in your stomach. That's how I describe it, right? You feel that slight pain and your stomach is growling. That's physical hunger. Emotional hunger is when you walked past a donut shop and you're like, I'm really craving a donut right now. And when you have those cravings, when you have those emotional cravings, at the beginning, in the recovery process, I want you to follow every single craving that you have. And I promise you those cravings will subside. I'm now 28. My disorder started when I was 13. So 15 years down the line, nowadays, guys, I don't eat sugar at all. I have abs. I would show it to you, but I don't want to trigger anyone. You can go on my Instagram. You can see my photos. I'm not lying. I have abs. Okay? It's not about abs right now. And I never wanted to have abs. It's just a result of my lifestyle. Nowadays, I've reached a point when I no longer have those cravings at all. But if I'm going out with my friends, if I have a pizza, I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm not going to gain a lot of weight as a result after one night of pizza. And I can actually enjoy food at meal times and share that enjoyment with the people I love and care about, with whom I'm sharing that meal. I can actually savor the food and taste the food that I'm eating. And I'm not going to devour a whole pizza in one sitting. I will have a few slices and I'll be absolutely fine. I'll feel full. I'm not going to overeat it. I'm not going to have those binging episodes. They stopped completely. I don't have them at all. Completely. They're gone. I haven't had them for years because I've stopped restricting myself, because I've stopped the control and I've stopped the active monitoring of calories that I've consumed and that I've burned off. I've stopped putting rules on myself. I've stopped putting myself in a cage. That's why my body has responded. That's why my body stopped giving me those biological responses that were triggered by this control and by the restriction. That's why my body is no longer asking me for essential nutrients, because I'm giving it what it wants, whenever it wants, right? And my sleep is fine. I exercise 5 days a week, but not because I feel guilty or because I feel like I have to, because I'm actually enjoying exercise. I'm doing boxing, running, strength training, calisthenics. I'm sharing all of this, once again, not to brag, but to let you know that it works. This approach works, but I want you to realize that this is a long-term lifestyle change. If you really want to get rid of this illness forever, this is what worked for me. And at the beginning, yes, you will probably gain some weight, and that's fine. This weight gain will be temporary, and those cravings will subside. At the beginning, you'll probably have a lot of cravings for the foods that you've not let yourself eat for years, that you've probably consumed when you had those binging episodes, right? And once again, if anyone wants to share their thoughts or their experiences, feel free to do so in the comments section. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. Feel free to email me. I'm always at your service. I want to help people. I work as a researcher at UCL. I'm a behavioral scientist. I now develop interventions because I understand the internal thinking process behind a lot of these disorders. I understand what happens behind closed doors. I understand what happens here because I lived it for most of my life. I've lived with mental illness for most of my life. I also have comorbid disorders like ADHD, bipolar disorder, and PTSD. If you want to learn more, please watch my other videos. Look at my life story video, and I'll be recording more. I'll be recording more about suicidal thoughts, about bipolar disorder. But right now, let's focus on this. So, once again, guys, once you start this lifestyle change, this recovery process that will set you free from this illness for life, you will have cravings, but you have to listen to your body. If your body is asking you for pickles, go eat pickles. If your body is asking you for pizza, have pizza. And you are allowed to exercise, but don't monitor anything. Don't set any rules for yourself. So it's like if I go for a jog, and ideally maybe avoid the gym for a couple of months at least. Go for a jog, but actually enjoy that jog. Play some nice music. And don't push yourself too hard. Don't say to yourself, okay, well, I have to run 10K. Say something like, well, I'll go for a run for an hour. Maybe go with a friend. Maybe make it a social event so that it's not isolating for you. Because you will have breakdowns. And that's okay. It's part of the recovery process. Because you're used to the restriction and you have to get rid of the restriction. Otherwise, the illness will never go away. Go for a run. Okay, maybe say to yourself, it's 40 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour. But don't wear those Apple Watches. Get rid of all like MyFitnessPal, all those calorie trackers. Get rid of all those health apps. Please, at least for now. They'll be very triggering for you. And once again, guys, the approach that I'm sharing with you worked for me. I don't know if it's going to work for you, but I've shared this with other people before and it helped them. So please decide for yourselves if you want to try what I'm sharing with you now. But I'm not taking any responsibility for your health. You have to decide this yourselves. This worked for me, and I've shared this with other people, and it helped them too. This is not a statistically proven method that's backed up by research. This is what helped me. So please be careful and only use this at your discretion. So what is intuitive eating? Once again, what I would do is sometimes I would have days at the beginning of my recovery process. And when I say recovery, I mean when I started intuitive eating. That's when my true recovery began. So at the beginning, I had days when I would wake up in the morning and my body would be like, oh, we really want a Snickers bar right now. And I would go and have a Snickers bar. Sometimes I'd have 2 Snickers bars in one go. But I would add a bit of yogurt or I would add a bit of porridge as well. Because only living off chocolate bars is not good for your gut health or your stomach and your digestive system. So what essentially we want is we want to strike a balance between that emotional hunger, which is your cravings and the things that your body is asking you for, right? And that physical hunger. If you completely stop listening to your emotional hunger, those cravings will accumulate. And I promise you, you won't gain weight after eating donuts and chocolate bars and pizza in moderation. You will then reach a point when you're actually eating healthy pizzas and you're enjoying them. But that's the next stage in your recovery. At the beginning, you'll probably gain some weight. I had days when I'd wake up in the morning, I'd want chocolate, and then for lunch, it would be like, oh, we actually really want some pasta or pizza or some steak. Because when you restrict yourself for such a long time, when you don't let yourself eat what you want, when you live in restriction for so long, that emotional hunger will erupt. So if we tell our body that it's okay to eat these foods, whenever our body asks us for these foods, we will eat them and we will be fine, and we won't gain a lot of weight, and we won't become obese, and we're not going to die from it. Our body learns that actually, okay, well, if we're allowed to eat these foods, and if we actually let ourselves eat these foods whenever we want to, I promise you, your body will actually stop asking you for these foods. Because when you know that you can have it anytime, you stop thinking about it and you stop obsessing about it. I promise you that. There was actually a psychological experiment that was conducted that I'm going to share with you in the description under this video. Participants were told not to think about a white bear for a certain amount of time. And those participants were compared to participants that weren't told about the bear at all. By the end of the experiment, the group that was told not to think about the white bear thought about the white bear a lot more than the people who weren't placed in that restriction, who weren't told any rules, right? So it's just basic human psychology. When we place restrictions and limitations on ourselves, our mind will try to escape it. That's why I'm telling you, get rid of all the rules and restrictions. Don't use any trackers, at least for now, because they'll be super triggering for you. You need to learn and show your body and your mind that you can live without this restriction and control. You can give your body any type of food, be it donuts or a healthy salad, and you can have both in moderation and you'll be absolutely fine. So your body needs to learn that it's allowed to ask for donuts, it's allowed to ask for pizzas, it's allowed to walk past a shop and smell cinnamon buns and have a cinnamon bun, 1 instead of 10, right? And that it will be okay. And I promise you, you won't die from this, you won't become obese from this. Yes, you will gain some weight, but that weight will be lost because, first of all, we need to teach your body and we need to calm your body down and calm down your nervous system, because this restriction that you're stuck in is causing you constant stress that's affecting your sleep, anxiety, and so many other parts of your body and life. It's messing with your hormones that are increasing your appetite even more, causing the binging. I'm going to film a separate video about this, but this is the first stage. So once you completely remove all restriction and you live in this at least for a couple of months, for me it was 2 to 3 months, I started feeling a lot of improvement after month 3. I would wake up in the morning, I've reached that stage when I would wake up in the morning and actually I wouldn't crave donuts. I would crave porridge. I would crave eggs. I would crave turkey bacon. I would crave healthy foods. And those cravings for unhealthy foods were subsiding. Yes, I still had them here and there, but they were like, well, once a month, once every couple of months. Nowadays, guys, I've reached a point when I don't really crave those things anymore. The last time I've had McDonald's was probably 3 years ago. Seriously. I swear on my life. I had a chocolate bar this week, a little chocolate egg thing. I had 2 pizzas this month. So 1 this week and 1 last week because I was actually craving them. But one was a healthy pizza that I've made myself. I used brown flour, regular cheese, and a tomato sauce that I made myself in a blender without sugar. So I've reached a point when I'm cooking some of those foods that I'm craving, and I've learned to cook the healthiest version of them with the healthiest version of ingredients, right, for these. But sometimes I have a full fat Domino's pizza. That's what I had last week. And I'm fine. I had about 4 slices and that was enough for me. I felt fully satisfied. I enjoyed the meal and shared it with my friends, shared the meal with my friends. We had pizza. It was a pizza night. I had 4 slices and I was absolutely fine. I didn't want more. And I reached that stage where I can have that and I won't devour the whole thing, guys, because my appetite, because the hormones in my body that are responsible for appetite, for digestion, and for general regulation of homeostasis in my body, they are now balanced. Before, it was like, woo, constantly stressed, right? But now, because I've removed the stressor of restriction, it's now balanced. I sleep okay at night. Well, I'm not losing sleep because of food now, guys. I mean, I'm losing sleep nowadays because of other things, but I'm not obsessively thinking about food from the moment I wake up till the moment I fall asleep. And that was, for 12 years, I dreamt of getting rid of this obsession with food because it was literally like a drug. The worst thing about eating disorders is that you can stay away from drugs. You can stop taking heroin or cocaine, but with food, you have to take it, right? You have to take it to survive. And when food and the restriction are the drug, that's the worst thing. Because you literally have to learn to live with the drug. It's like learning how to take cocaine in moderation daily. It's a different type of addiction. It's still an addiction. Yeah, this video is going to be really long, guys, but this is what I'm sharing with you. I've reached the stage now when I can eat unhealthy foods, but I don't label them like that anymore. I've stopped seeing food as healthy and unhealthy because I've scrapped all the labels. I've removed all rules. I have certain lifestyle changes that I'm trying to incorporate more and more, but it's not a situation of I'm not allowed to have that or I'm only allowed to have that. No, it's like I would really want to reduce my caffeine intake and I try to have less caffeine daily. I try to replace sugar with natural sugars. But these are lifestyle changes. And I'm only doing that now because my binging and my eating disorder have stopped. I'm now in remission, complete remission. So that's why I'm allowed to add those lifestyle changes. I'm allowed to now try to reduce my intake of sugar and caffeine because it's influencing my ADHD. But I'm not doing it because of calories and I'm not doing it because it's restriction that I've placed upon myself. No. And guys, there is nothing more precious than peace. No number on the scales, no body composition, none of that compares to the peace that you feel when you wake up in the morning and you're not thinking about, what I'm going to eat, when I'm going to eat, how much of it I'm going to eat, how much I'm going to over-exercise. You don't have these binging episodes. You have a healthy relationship with food and exercise. You exercise when you want to, when you feel like it. If you don't feel like it, if you've had a really busy week, you don't force yourself to over-exercise. You don't down like 1,000 milligrams of caffeine just to push through a 4-hour workout. I don't do that anymore. I only train because I love training. I love training. Love boxing, love calisthenics. And I eat really well now after my training. That's why I'm able to maintain it. That's why I'm able to maintain this lifestyle. And I have abs, but those abs are the consequence of the lifestyle and of the balance. When I say balance, I mean my sleep hormones, my appetite hormones are all balanced out now. And guys, these are super tied together. They're really tied together. Your sleep hormones will affect your appetite hormones. Your appetite hormones will affect your sleep hormones. That's why most people with anorexia have sleep problems. So once you sort out your sleep, once you completely remove the stress of restriction, I promise you it will get easier. So at the beginning, I gained a certain number of kilos. I gained some weight, but I was free, guys. And now I'm in the best shape that I've ever had in my life. And I'm not actively tracking anything. I make sure that I have 8 hours of sleep every night. I try my best. I make sure that every time when I'm deciding what I'm eating, I strike that balance between emotional hunger and the physical hunger and my understanding of nutrition. So I obviously now try to have the healthiest version of the dish. I like cooking myself, but if I'm eating out, then, I try, if I'm getting a pizza, I try not to add extra oil on the pizza, or I try not to have unhealthy sauces or lots of sugary ketchup, right? I just try to make the healthiest choice that I can make in the given circumstances, right? But once again, if I have a full fat version of a pizza or a chocolate bar, I'm not going to have a panic attack because I know that in the morning I'm going to wake up and I know that I'm not going to crave that pizza again. That doesn't happen anymore. If I had a pizza on Thursday, the next time I'll probably crave that pizza won't be until either next month or a couple of months down the line. It's not a situation of, oh my God, once I start having that pizza, I can't stop. And that's what would happen when I had those binging episodes, when I was stuck in restriction. That's what would happen. And I wouldn't even taste that pizza. I would devour it in one sitting in a couple of minutes. I wouldn't even enjoy it. Now I can actually savor the food that I'm eating. I can taste it. I can actually share the enjoyment. Now I understand what social eating is. Before, I would avoid and skip Christmas dinners, Easter lunches. So this is something that helped. And my message for you is try to remove the restriction. And it's going to be really difficult. But this is what helped me. If you would like to learn more, please leave some comments. Contact me. If you have any further questions, I'm always here at your service. But in summary, what happened to me was the initial stage of learning about what intuitive eating was, giving my body what it needed, what it asked for, right? Satisfying that emotional hunger, giving myself the foods and allowing myself to eat the foods that I didn't let myself eat for about 12 years. That calmed that emotional hunger. The cravings have subsided. Then I learned about nutrition more. I've learned how to make the healthier versions of those things that I've craved that still tasted as good. I learned more about exercising. But when I was stuck in my eating disorder, I was only doing cardio. Then I signed up for a course with a PT. I learned about exercises for abs, for your core, for legs. So now I have a leg day, then I have a full body day, like upper body days. I learned more about that. I've worked with a PT who taught me that you need to have rest days, right? It shouldn't be exercising 7 days a week. That's not healthy for anyone. Even professional athletes take rest days because you need recovery, guys. You need recovery days. And you need to have a lot of sleep and healthy sleep schedules, healthy routines. So after that comes the last stage. All the hormones in your body are balanced out. You stop obsessively thinking about food because you remove that rule of not thinking about the white bear. You stop telling yourself, I can't think about chocolate, or I can't think about crisps, or I can't think about that. So your mind just relaxes naturally. And you can actually focus on other things like working, studying, doing something meaningful. That's what initially drove the change for me. I realized I can't concentrate. I'd be doing my assignments for university and I'd be thinking about, oh my God, I really want a pizza right now, but I can't. I'm not allowed to. And I would constantly waste hours of every single day just suppressing that craving. Why the fuck? You are allowed to have a pizza and you'll be fine. I have pizza here and there and I have abs. It's doable, guys. It's possible, okay? Who the created these rules? 1,200 calories or like 700. You're only allowed to eat that. And also, learn about healthy cooking. Learn about healthy recipes. Learn about how to cook the healthiest version of your favorite dishes that still taste as good. Okay? That's what will help. Intuitive eating. It's about balance. Learning to live in balance with your mind, with your cravings, and also find exercise or a sport that you actually love. If it's a social sport like tennis, do that. If it's something to do with water, like a water sport, like swimming, synchronized swimming, do that. If you really like active sports, if you like martial arts or fighting, do boxing or Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu. Find something you actually enjoy, because then you will be seeing your workout as a hobby or as a means to meet other people, to socialize, to do something that actually brings you pleasure and enjoyment to life. Life is way too short to make yourself suffer. If it's running, you can join a running club and run with other people. But don't use exercise as an isolating measure to just control your life, right? That's what the disorder is about. So once you understand what the disorder is about, once you learn more about it, and once you try to get rid of those patterns and replace them with something healthier, with a healthier version of that, that's what will drive the recovery for you. But all I want to say, guys, it took me time. So yes, I did gain weight at the beginning, but then I lost it because over time, the binging stopped. And the binging and the restriction were what was causing these fluctuations in my weight. Because that obsession with food has stopped, I was able to focus on other parts of my life, and I wasn't preoccupied with food all the time. The cravings subsided as well. And I've realized that I can actually eat my favorite foods in moderation. So now I've reached the highest level in terms of that balance between the emotional hunger, the physical hunger, trying to eat the healthiest version of my favorite foods, exercising because I love exercising, and also feeling okay in my body. And guys, the final, you know that you've recovered when you stop obsessing with food, you have a healthy relationship with exercise, you don't feel like it's compulsory to do anything, when you realize that you are actively choosing what to eat based on what you feel like eating, but also because you're choosing the healthiest version of your craving, right? And you can strike that balance between the two when you stop seeing exercise as punishment, when you stop living in any type of restriction, when you can wake up in the morning and food or exercise is not the first thing that you think about, and food and exercise are not the last thing that you think about before you go to sleep, that's when you know that you have recovered. When you can enjoy food at meal times without recording the calorie count of the food, without feeling any guilt after eating, when you have a type of food that's apparently labeled as unhealthy, those labels, guys, those labels, food is food, okay? So after eating that supposedly unhealthy food, the definition of which society has imposed on you, and you don't feel any type of shame or guilt, that's when you know you have recovered. When the binging stops, and also the restriction with the labels, when all of that stops, you know you have recovered. That is what successful recovery is. When you actually enjoy exercise, instead of feeling like, oh my God, if I don't exercise now, I'm going to feel so bad about myself. I'm going to hate my body. When you stop hating your body, by the way, guys, no matter your shape or clothing size, that's success. That is a successful recovery. When you can sleep at night, and when you feel like you actually can strike that balance. It takes time. Sometimes, well, just like I said, you will have cravings, but you have to give into those cravings because you've been avoiding those cravings for years. And those cravings are just simply the result of those restrictions and the rules that you've been living according to. Those cravings and that emotional hunger is just the result of the rules and the restrictions that you have placed upon yourself. So this is what worked for me. This is what helped me. And please, once again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I hope this helps you. If you want to clarify anything, please write something in the comments. You can email me. Once again, you can message me on Instagram. Please like and subscribe. And I just want to say once again, this is what worked for me personally. Maybe something else, some different approach will work for you. Maybe some type of therapy will work for you. But this is what worked for me. Okay, this is what prevented me from dying from anorexia. And this is what saved my life. So thank you so much for watching. Please don't lose hope. Please know that it's possible to overcome this. I'm a lived example. And I'm not special. I'm not smarter than you. I'm not stronger than you. I was just delusional enough not to give up and to try new things and new approaches. For 12 years, the things I've been trying didn't work. This is what worked. And this is what is sustainable in the long run. This is what is realistic to maintain, because those rules and limitations, guys, life is way too short. I love every single one of you. Stay healthy, stay strong, and never give up. And those rules that society or someone else is imposing on you. Live life by your own rules. Thank you.